code red alert, but I haven't gotten it yet.
Sheriff hasn't gotten it yet.
Thank you.
They don't, they think it's not live.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, I haven't left the meeting yet, so we're in good shape. Welcome to the Albany County Commission summer solstice extravaganza here at 6 o'clock. We'll look forward to listening and talking with you all. I'd like to call the regular meeting to order. Commissioner Rivera.
Here.
Commissioner Richardson.
Here.
Commissioner Gosar also here. If you would stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I appreciate it.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 3, public hearing. I'd like to open up the public hearing for the City of Laramie North Third Tower application LUCT-02-22. Is there anybody in the room who would like to speak on or against the City of Laramie North Third Tower application? And how about online? You can raise your hand or unmute yourself, either way. All right, last chance online and in person. Commissioners, I entertain a motion to close that public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. I'd like to open up the public hearing for 4 Mile Acres subdivision application SD-06-22, preliminary and final plats. Would anybody in the room like to speak on or against the 4 Mile Acres subdivision? And online. The last call online and in the room. Commissioners, entertain a motion for the 4 Mile Acre subdivision, please.
I move that we close the public hearing on the 4 Mile Acres subdivision.
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 4, comments from the public. Would anybody in the room like to make a public comment? Okay, how about online?
You have to find the button.
Yeah, I love Heather's picture. But
Right.
all right. Did you close the public comments? Yeah, I entertain a motion for closing the public comment.
I move that we close the public comment.
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 5, disclosures. Commissioner Rivera.
I have.
Commissioner Richardson.
I have none.
And Commissioner Gosar, I have none also. Item 6, considerations of changes on the agenda. Jennifer, please.
Thank you. Commissioners, I would ask that we remove item number 10. We thought we were going to, which is the commercial lease agreement for the 3821 beach. We have a couple issues that we have not yet worked out, so we're going to pull that off of this agenda. And then I talked to Christina this afternoon. She asked that we remove item 13 with her travel and then not feeling well. She wasn't going to be able to be here tonight. So she asked if I would please remove item number 13 and she would address that with you at the meeting, the first meeting in July, when she can be here in person.
Thank you, Jennifer. Jackie. Anybody else? All right. Item 7, approval of the consent agenda. Did entertain that motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all is in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 8, regular agenda. First item, present for approval, renewal of health insurance with Cigna. John Martin. Good evening. Welcome.
Hi, thank you, commissioners.
Right.
What I have here is the
Thanks.
proposed renewal for the health plan through Cigna. Well, thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity. For those of you, Chairman Gozar, we have not met, I do not believe. My name is John Martin. I'm an employee benefit consultant with Hub Insurance. I work out of our Sheridan, Wyoming office, and I work with Brad Johnson consulting for the Albany County Health Plan. Brad was unable to make it today. He is on some time off, but I did bring with me Kylan Sullivan with Cigna. Anytime we're presenting a renewal to the commissioners, it's nice to have someone to beat up on, and so I had to bring a scapegoat here. But no, in all seriousness, it's a pretty good discussion. The plan is running well this year, but I wanted the opportunity to introduce Kylan to you all and for you to see his face. He is our first point of contact with Cigna. Any issues that we have from a service perspective, negotiating the renewal, all goes through Kylan. So I wanted an opportunity to show his face to you all and make sure you guys knew you're well represented within Cigna.
Thank you, John, and thank you for the opportunity for having us.
Nice to meet you.
So what we have in front of you here is the proposed renewal, a revised renewal. The initial renewal from Cigna was issued on May 16th. That initial renewal had a 10.6 overall rate increase. This was the renewal that we presented to the health insurance management team while we were still in negotiations with Cigna. We worked with Kylan and the team at Cigna to negotiate that renewal. After negotiations, we're down to an 8% overall increase. And I want to go through the factors that that 8% is comprised of and give a good understanding of how the plan is running and why we're looking at that 8%, and then some potential suggestions and guidance as far as premiums for the new year. So the initial increase had a 4% increase to admin. The administrative costs within Cigna are Cigna's fixed cost to do business. And correct me if I'm wrong here, step in at any time. That is how basically Cigna is paying the bills. Their 4% increase to admin, that's a fixed cost that doesn't fluctuate throughout the year. When we went back to Cigna on this first year renewal, we asked for them to remove that 4%. They did that for us. We're down to it ended up being just slightly less than the 0% increase to admin. So we removed that fixed cost overall, which contributed to bringing our overall renewal cost down.
So that's the cost of claims administration. That's the plan administration.
Yeah, us processing your claims, providing the network, all the tools,
Yeah,
processing
yeah.
resources that are involved within Cigna. So yeah, you got it.
Okay, so the second factor is, one of the large pieces that we pay for being a self-insured plan is our reinsurance cost. That is our safety net to make sure that no one employee or an aggregate of employee claims will wreck our claim fund. That's one of the larger portions from a ratio standpoint that our premiums go to pay for. The initial issue was just under 13%. We went back to Cigna on an appeal to the reinsurance. The appeal being that we had not hit a stop loss level up until this point. The plan is running well. Kylan came back with a 12.2% increase to reinsurance. We can speak to those factors a little bit, but we'll kind of get into why that more or less remained kind of stagnant. We weren't able to see much reduction there. Where we did see a reduction was on the claim fund. So the initial increase to the claim fund, the ask was 10.818%. We got that down to a 7.16%. And for a first year self-funded renewal, because of a host of factors, that's a low increase to claims. The reason we were able to have that reduction is because of how well the plan is running currently. To give you guys an idea of where we sit from a claims perspective, if we're following along on the sheet here, that $1 million number there, the funding level for 2022, that's where we've currently funded the claims up through May. So that's how much when we collect premiums from employees, when we write the check to Cigna, that's how much has been put into our claim fund. To date, we've paid just short of $850,000. So we're currently sitting at $197, just shy of $200,000 surplus in our claim fund. typically in a first year renewal, especially in a self-funded plan, there's a maturing factor that goes into paying for those claims or increasing the amount that we put into those claim funds. And Kyla, I'm going to let you speak to a little bit on what that maturing costs are, and then discuss why we are sitting actually lower than trend when it comes to maturing costs.
So first and foremost, the plan is performing better than perhaps expected, which is a good thing. Secondly, oftentimes when we get newer groups that come over to us, we don't have all the information that we need oftentimes. So between Bob Decker, who you guys worked with previously, John, Brad, as we wrote the case over, they got us as much information as we could, or as they could, which allowed us to underwrite your plan, what I would call appropriately. We didn't short anything. It gave your plan the opportunity to continue to run under maximum, keep your claims reserved, which is exactly what you want to do in a self-funded plan. Typically, when we don't have enough of the information that is needed, we have to mature the claims up. We look forward 12 months when we try to determine what the costs are going to be. But usually when we issue a first year renewal, we only have 8 months of data. But given the fact that we had additional data, one, secondly, that the plan was running so well, we were able to remove that maturing factor to reduce that typical claims increase. So kudos to not only your plan, the health and well-being of everybody on the plan, and your consultants for ensuring we got the appropriate data.
So all I have to say, it appears we have been accurately underwritten for this plan year, and I want to speak to kind of the good news that can come from that. So looking at where we're currently at in a surplus, that $197,429, that's our current surplus. Now that's through May, so we still have a couple months to pay claims. And of course, there'll be a run out period where we're going to look back and pay claims at the end of the plan year. But that number there is larger than the 8% overall increase asked to the health plan. So what that means is with the 8% overall ask from Cigna, that amounts to just over $150,000 overall cost over the year, which is less than what our current surplus is at the moment. So what that could potentially allow us to do, and this will be a conversation, a strategy discussion with the health insurance management team, is to potentially reduce that increase to employees, passing that premium increase on to employees, potentially keeping it flat, or at our suggestion, maybe landing at a 5% versus taking the recommended 8% from Cigna. Just because we do have that money currently in our surplus to cover the increase that Cigna is asking for. Does that make sense to everybody? Did I do an okay job of explaining where we sit claims funding versus claims paid out currently? Okay, so that's good news.
I have a question.
Sure.
So because our plan is self-funded and we have stop loss carrier, and you explained the stop loss, right? Why the reduction there? But I think it's important to make the distinction. It sort of sounds like you're saying Cigna is asking for, but what Cigna is doing, I think, is saying, this is how much you need to have in your claims operating account. In other words, you're giving us actuarial advice for where to set our premiums in our budget so that we don't slide behind in our claims fund, basically.
Sure.
So you say Cigna's asking, but really what you're doing is giving us advice on what to do with our own premiums to fund our own plan.
Sure.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Because the only thing that Cigna takes is 1% less on the admin side, which I actually am impressed by, because I know it's a transition from one plan administrator to another is pretty hard. But that's a labor intensive thing until all the kinks are worked out. And so I'm impressed by that. I guess I've been on this commission for 7.5 years, and we have consistently we've been very conservative, meaning that we were inclined to fund our health, let's call it the health insurance operating paying account. I don't know what it's actually called, but, our claims paying account, that we pay premiums from the general fund into, right? Those, we have been very conservative always, to the point that there's a possibility that we could be overfunded, right? There's a limit to the exposure of liability before reinsurance kicks in. So I'm trying to understand, I guess, why there's a 12.2 instead of a 12.9% increase. I'm sorry, a 7.1% increase instead of a 10.8. Why there's an increase at all when we're running in the black 200,000.
Sure.
Now I understand why you guys might do that, because you're working on a new client and you don't know what's going to happen. And I'm actually amazed we haven't hit stop loss on a single plan participant. Right? That's totally amazing to me.
2 months.
I don't know what happened, but I'm not sure that I understand why the increase to claims funding, given how we're rolling, unless we're trying to do average over years so we don't have a big step up, or there's something out there in the medical world as far as costs that we aren't seeing.
So I'll take that first from a consulting perspective, and I'll let Kylan speak to it from an underwriting perspective. What I would tell you all commissioners, and if there is one portion that we wanted to be, as you mentioned, conservative with, meaning potentially overfund, that would be that claims portion, because that money at the end of the day remains with the county if it's not paid out into claims. As far as the factors here that create our premiums, the reinsurance and the admin, those are dollars that we don't ever get back, right? Those are dollars that we pay to the reinsurance companies, other dollars we pay to Cigna. So when we have an increase in claim funding, even though we are running in the black, what I would advise, and from my perspective, I see that as a safety net, because we did run well this year. But again, we have inflation that's creeping up on us pretty heavy that we'll start seeing, especially in 2023 and beyond. And so when we're looking at a 7.1% increase in claims, to be quite honest, that's not even keeping up with what we anticipate inflation to look like in the years coming. So
relative to inflation, it's like zero. It's like we're flat, kind of.
maybe even a little less, maybe even a little less. But Carlin, can you speak to kind of where the 7.16?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest portion of your increase currently comes from the reinsurance side. You hit the nail on the head that we're more conservative from an underwriting perspective with newer groups. It's quite shocking to me as well that you don't have a single person that is at stop loss. That's with a group of this size, we expect stop loss hits. But what we do is we worked in a pooled methodology. So we spread the risk out between all of the Cigna groups, anywhere from 20 employee groups all the way up to 500 employee groups. As we know, one stop loss claim can really turn a plan upside down. There's plenty of claimants out there that we see that are $1 million claimants. In any cancer treatment can be $500,000 to $700,000 at the drop of a hat. There are some other reinsurance companies that will work a little bit differently. That'll say, okay, yeah, you are running fantastically today. We'll give you a 0% to your reinsurance today. But then the $1 million claim comes around. And they say, we need 100% increase. This allows us to maintain and allow small to mid-sized businesses, municipalities like yourself, to budget appropriately. To say, hey, we can expect closer to a trend type renewal year over year. We're not going to get hurt and not have anywhere to go if we do have those large claims. So typically we ask for some type of increase on the reinsurance side of things. As time goes on and we have a little bit more, quote unquote, what we call credibility from an underwriting standpoint, we can say, hey, maybe this isn't just a flash in the pan. The group is healthy. You will run well. We can see that number can consistently go down. And hopefully we can push in the years moving forward. If you get any increase, it's in your claims.
And the credibility there goes both ways, in that as consultants for Albany County, when we look back and we've got, let's say we had 2 years that we don't hit stop loss and they're asking for another 12%. That's negotiating power on our end to say, no, it's been 2 years. As we gain this credibility means credibility. Let's look at where our claims actually are. And I think that's what Kylan's speaking to right now. Cigna may have kind of the guardrails up a little bit because it's unusual for us not to be hitting the stop loss. But as we move on and as we look at that claims experience and really have data to stand on when it comes to negotiating, I think that when we're looking at those reinsurance increases, it gives us the ability to negotiate. We don't have the data to negotiate that so much this year.
And from a high level perspective, if I have a plan that has no stop loss claims and is running close to expected, you're a little bit under expected, we would expect potentially a trend renewal. As we know, medical costs have not gone down ever since I started working for Cigna. Inflation's on the rise. So I'm seeing trends start to move to 9, 10, 11%, unfortunately. So to have a first year renewal that is below trend is not something that I'm seeing in the marketplace often currently.
I have to say that I think that that's reflected in our choice to use Cigna as our claims and plan administrator. I think that the savings has everything to do with the stewardship. On occasion, it can be a little bit tedious, like if a plan participant has to, fight over a renewal of a $5 medicine versus a $7 medicine. But in general, we used to have claims payment, not claims administration. And so maybe we ran a little more on the expensive side because our previous plan administrator maybe didn't apply the same scrutiny that Cigna does. So I actually think that savings compared to the previous year has everything to do with Cigna and its process.
And I appreciate that. And what Cigna does is self-funded business. We don't really do fully insured business. We work with groups who pay their own claims. And we absolutely intend to be good stewards of your money, work with the local communities to ensure hospitals, providers, everybody works together in order to hopefully achieve savings like this. So I appreciate that comment. And that is our intent. Not to say that we're not going to mess up on occasion, but that's why you have John and that's why you have me.
Thanks, Kylan.
Anything, Commissioner Brown?
Yep.
So I just have a couple of questions, and I don't want to micromanage. I just want to, for my understanding, 65,000, the stop loss amount, if that were to be raised to 75 or 85, does that meaningfully reduce that type of premium increase?
So it actually doesn't increase your total maximum cost, but what it does is it decreases the stop loss premium that you pay to Cigna that you do not get back. And it does push the dollars into the claims fund. So we'll increase your claims fund, but decrease the costs that you can't get back. So that is a fairly decent strategy. There is a little bit more risk there, but in self-funding, that's a strategy that oftentimes I will encourage. And John, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, and I'll address that from a consulting perspective. It is a strategy that we can use in the future. First year, second year, probably not something that we have the data to make an educated strategic move on, because we don't understand really what the true risk is in the plan from the stop loss levels. But absolutely, that is one of the tools in the toolbox as we start to see the plan and gather the data as we move on to be able to adjust that stop loss level to where we feel that it's appropriate.
Super. And then the designations of the employee group premiums to the EE plus spouse, EE plus child seems to be kind of old school as far as how the world's set up now, right? I work at I'm on a board of another facility where it's employee plus household adult, employee plus child. right? Because grandparents might be having not the legal representation of a child, but they might be living with a child. What are you guys saying? Why are they able to do that in one other local area here? That's similar in size, and we're not able to do that here with
Well,
our plan.
So ultimately, what I would tell you is that is going to be reliant on what's in the plan document. As a self-funded plan, we can put whatever language the county would like to see in that plan document. So we do have that flexibility. That would just be something to have a conversation about and to draft up that language. Probably something we'd want to visit with the health insurance management team on. There are some risks there that we would want to be aware of as we move to kind of open up the eligibility parameters. But it's absolutely a conversation that we can have. That's a direction that the county would like to at least explore or have those conversations on.
Okay, thank you, John.
So EE means eligible employee.
Subscriber, employee.
Yeah, employee, employee spouse, employee child or children, and then employee family.
Okay, that's, I've beaten that one up around a little bit. But I thank you guys for that. I thank the employees and the health management team for knocking through this. Be open for the next 2 months, and then whatever the tail is, whether it's 3 months or something. So we'll have to not hit that 200,000 till August, September.
Well, we're getting close to the goal line here, so we'll keep you guys updated on how we do as we get those reports. The final thing that I just want to bring up here is the health insurance management team recommendations. Present those to you all. The recommendation was to renew a Cigna, to remain, keep the current $65,000 individual stop loss, renew with the current stop loss carrier. Our stop loss carrier is Cigna. We have not established premium rates at this point because, again, depending on what our surplus ends up looking like, we could do some pretty neat things as far as not passing any increases on. A conversation yet we have, but what we'd like to accomplish this evening is an understanding of will we be letting Cigna know that we'll renew the health plan so that we can begin the planning on our end.
If there's anything,
We are making a decision. as far as-
that's right here. Jackie, do you, is that what you, please? Okay. Thanks, John. Thanks, Kylan. Is it Kylan?
Kylan, yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you as well.
So your question's brilliant, because if the stop loss, the reinsurance premium goes down a little bit, it exposes the county to a little bit more liability, but also we retain that in our operating claims payment account, right? So somewhere there's a sweet spot, and some crazy actuary knows how to find it.
You know what, John and I can take that away from, if decision, if isn't fully made tonight and we still need to play with premiums, John and I can take that back and say, hey, here's what it looks like at a $70,000 individual stop loss rate.
Well, I think you guys just got done saying that maybe you don't have the data. I don't know that we're saying that we would want to change
Kylan can
that.
give the numbers and I can illustrate the risk.
Yeah, ultimately, the set aside kind of is the same. What you take out of stop loss premium, you put into your operating account. So the total premium might not change. It just means it's a question of exposure versus retaining those. It's who's going to carry the exposure.
Correct.
Us
Hit the nail on
or the reinsurance carrier. And there's a sweet spot. And so I don't know. I mean, I'm with Pete. It's a really fun question, and I don't want to speak for Pete. I don't know if we have enough data. I don't know I'm not asking for that.
Sure.
For a differently calculated stop loss premium.
Here's what I can tell you from an actuarial standpoint is we typically start with our stop loss based on group size.
Mhm.
You are right in the middle sweet spot based on group size alone. Now, that's where it becomes the question is when you want to take on more risk or not, based on how your plan is running. But 65,000 from the membership that is within Albany County is absolutely spot on.
And the way we're funded in our sort of claims payment or operating side, that little set aside in our funds works. I don't think that we have any cliffs we're about to run off. It's pretty good.
Doesn't seem that way.
This is not controversial. Not right now.
Keep an eye on it. But again, as we get closer to the close of the plan year, I'll be making sure everyone's informed on where we stand. And then, like Kylan said, if we want to have those illustrations drawn up, you can give us the numbers and I can talk to you guys about the risk. And from a consulting basis versus numbers, what does that look like? And is it intelligent to play with those when it might be appropriate?
And if it's not this year, we can, maybe next year, John and I can start there to say, here's renewal, here's what it looks like at maybe 3 different levels. And you can have that.
Okay, and then just brings one more question to mind. If our median age went down, we got younger, right? Do you figure that in?
Yeah. So there are demographic factors that are a part of our renewal processes.
Okay. And you automatically figure those in?
Yeah. So that's automatically figured in our claims ask, and we can get real boring and show you that's things.
That was what that health insurance management team got to deal with, is sitting through those numbers and data sets.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Commissioners, do you need any more data, or do you want to make a decision? I'd entertain a motion for item number 8 then.
I move that we approve the health insurance with Cigna.
Second.
Move in second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, all those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
And nice to meet you too, John.
Nice to meet you.
All right, item 9, discuss lawn care services with Tough Guys Lawn Care and Sprinklers at 3821 Beach Street. Josh, you up?
Yeah, Honorable Chair, Commissioners, I just wanted to get this on your agenda. This is the lawn care contract for Beach Street at $911 per month. That is for fertilizing, spring cleanup, fall cleanup, and regular maintenance. We've been contracted with Tough Guys for a number of years now, never unsatisfied with their service. This year was my intent to shop that around a bit. Time got away from me, and I was afraid we would not get lawn care service contracted due to a number of, labor shortages and stuff. So I went ahead and contracted with them for the 5-month term. And this is more of, I guess, an informational thing to bring forward to you to make you aware of what the contract looks like and who it's with.
Thank you, Josh. Commissioners, any questions? I just have a discuss on this, and so I'm guessing we'll bring this back to the next meeting. Who's had the idea? Or do you?
And
Please, Jeff.
I believe, and Josh can correct me if I'm wrong, I think he has already entered into this agreement. It's part of the budgeted expenses that they handle for us. So it was really just for your information. And if you wanted to ratify it, you could, but
We don't need to.
you don't necessarily need to, no.
Okay.
Oh, because we're contracted with LCBA.
Correct,
They're just telling us what they did.
correct.
This isn't a contract with the commissioners.
No. It's, LCBA handles the contract.
Commissioners, any questions? Josh, thank you very much.
All right, thank you all and have a wonderful evening.
You as well, thanks. Item 10's been removed, so that moves us to item 11. Request permission to send out a statement of work seeking a cultural resource firm to write a National Register of Historic Places District nomination for a historic district in Laramie, Wyoming, known as the West Side Neighborhood. President Barr, Karen, how are you this evening?
Just fine. How are you doing, Commissioner?
Doing well, thanks. The floor is yours, please.
Okay, great. So what we are hoping to do, we need to send out a statement of work so that we can get an idea of what the cost will be to put a nomination forward for West Side to become a historic district. We've gotten information that over the past couple of years, prices in this have changed dramatically, unfortunately gone up. So in order for us to have correct numbers to bring to you and also to put into our grant application later this year, we need to go out and start getting some proposals and quotes. As you know, when we go after a grant from SHPO, they pay 60% and we're required to come up with 40%. That is partially like in kind contributions from our board. And then of course, some financial real hard cash that we anticipate either coming from the county and or from the city. Right now, we have started work and conversations with Andy Somerville, and who is one of the city councilors for that district. She is in support of us moving forward. We've had meetings with the West Side neighborhood, and they are in support of this moving forward. We have also had tentative discussions with the powers that be within SHPO, and they believe that the West Side should be a historic district. So what we're looking for right now is your support to move forward and permission to send out the statement of work so that we can start getting an idea of what the costs will be so that an appropriate grant application can be written.
Thank you, Karen. Commissioners, any questions?
I have one, Karen. This is unique to, I'm woefully ignorant of this. So will part of this, the statement of work include how much of that neighborhood, what the boundaries will be and all?
Yes. So there will be two nominations have gone before this in the West Side District. The first one, of course, had to do with the bypass, the bridge, etc. The second one was not considered by SHPO. I do not understand fully all of the reasons why that particular nomination did not go forward. But part of them were concerned with regards to those boundaries. But because those two documents already exist, that actually cuts down on the amount of work that needs to be done in this particular nomination. Basically, instead of going back and doing a complete review, all we will need to do, or the consultants will need to do, is actually go through and verify any changes that have happened since the last nomination. But yes, the boundaries are a critical topic on going forward with this. And so that will be an issue in clearly defining those boundaries.
Thank you, Karen.
A question.
Please.
I'm trying to remember, and I don't know why I can't, because I've been through this discussion before. I can remember some things about it, but when a place, like a district like that is, if we were to write an appropriate statement of work, and if we send out a statement of work and we get an application written that makes sense and works, what is accomplished? What does that do for the West Side neighborhood district to be on the national register of
Register?
historic
Okay.
district?
Yeah.
Does
So
it enable them to get grant funding and things like that, or what?
if there's federal work in there, so it does two things. Yes, it does entitle them to be able to go after some types of grant funding for projects that will be in that district. Two, it only protects them from any federal project. Okay. Unfortunately, the state of Wyoming doesn't have what they call, it's not a district, it's a historic, another word. Anyway, Wyoming doesn't have it. It also does not protect them from anything that the city does. So it's only a federal protection, and it's small. What we believe will actually happen by putting the district in place will really be more of an emotional, positive reaction to that district. Think about it as pride and sense of place for the West District. We believe that the perception will be changed and the way the West Side is treated will be changed with this. And we all believe from all of those parties I mentioned earlier that that would be a positive thing. Now, we've been working, and I understand that background work has been started at the city level to consider putting in what they call a historic layer over that area. That would give some protection to the West Side at the city level. There aren't a lot of regulations at the city. It doesn't put a lot of burden onto any of the residents in the West Side. It really, if that layer gets approved and put in place, which is a 12 to 18 month process, it will really just expect all of the citizens to maintain their property. It's really not a whole lot more regulation than that if the city goes ahead and does that. But Andy Somerville is taking the charge on that. Unfortunately, I have not been able to get with her recently to get an update and to see, in order to inform you exactly where that process is.
So it's symbolic, not regulatory.
It is most symbolic, yes, but there is some regulation layer to it.
And the only regulation layer limits federal projects, but any local restrictions.
Yeah, and that is why
would be imposed by the city of Laramie.
That's right.
Through the normal processes.
That's right. And that's why we're taking a two-pronged approach on this, so that West Side will be protected at the multiple layers, not only at the national layer by having a historic district, but also by pushing with the city council to get them to put historic layer on at the city level. And that will give the West Side protection at the city level and at the national level.
Any other questions? I entertain a motion for item 11, then, please.
Yeah, I move that we grant permission to send out a statement of work to write a National Register of Historic Places district nomination for a historic district in Laramie, Wyoming, known as the West Side neighborhood.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 12, present for approval, request from the Albany County Historic Preservation Board for funds of $500 for History Month. Karen, please, again.
Okay, I would like to clarify and amend this a little bit. I'm actually here. I would really like to request that we receive $500 per annum. Just make it part of your budget. I don't mind talking to you guys, but if we were to be able to put this as an annual thing, I would appreciate it. Since the past 4 years, the board has started supporting events for History Month. We started out with a kind of a learning session with is your property historic? Basic question. The next year we did another workshop, which is now that you know you have an historic property, what can you do? You know, how do you go about the process to either register it? What does registration mean to you, et cetera? Last year we had an exhibit where we were opened up the Paredes Hablando, the speaking walls that are inside of Coca Radio. That was very well attended. And this year we worked with the Cooper Mansion, Friends of the Cooper Mansion, and we put on a 100th birthday party in celebration of the history of the Cooper Mansion. And that was extremely well received. The money that was spent to go with that was minimal. However, it is going to deplete our funds. So we do need $500 put back into our account so that we have some type of budget. But we would like to ask that you consider and approve that this just becomes an automatic thing so that we can actually do forward planning on an event every May to celebrate Historic Preservation Month.
Thank you, Karen. Commissioners, any questions? Okay, I'd entertain a motion. Oh, Heber, did you have a question? Okay, I'd entertain a motion for item 12 then.
I move that we approve item 12 as presented.
With the request being automatic every year.
Well, I don't know as presented. I mean, I think that would be something we would address it just because of the way the process works.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm not saying I have a problem with it being every year. Yeah, I just think that that probably this isn't the way to insert it in the budget. It needs to go in the budget in the normal process. So, but it might be nice if somebody makes a note to remind us of that for the next time around.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We got it in for this year, and Karen will run it through the process next year.
Nope.
So
I'll talk to Jackie to see what I have to do to make that happen. I appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you for your time. Appreciate it, Karen. Item 13 has been removed. Item 14, present for approval, public health request to have permission to close on Fridays from June 24th, 2022 through September 30th, 2022 at 12 p.m. Additionally, be closed at the whole day of July 8th, 2022 for Jubilee Days. Yeah.
Hello, commissioners. Good evening. So basically what happened was Undine's Farmers Market on Thursday nights has been canceled. So the only farmers market we have now is a Friday night one. And when I talked to downtown chairperson of the farmers market, they've had 100 applicants for vendors, and they're averaging that they're going to have about anywhere from 70 to 80 on average each Friday. They can't guarantee, but our issue comes at parking. Vendors start to set up right after lunch, and it makes it hard for all of us to find parking downtown. So I was just seeing if we could close early on those Fridays to alleviate that trouble. We don't have a parking lot. And then Jubilee Day is on Friday. They're starting the carnival at 11. That's why I put that in there. Makes it really difficult for us to come and go where we have no guaranteed spots and it's just limited space. So that's my present to you.
And Kim, what are your Friday afternoons generally like as far as?
Generally, they are pretty
Clients.
slow because WIC isn't open on Fridays. Downtown Clinic's not open on Fridays. I can't imagine that with the downtown farmers market or Jubilee Days that any of our parents would actually just walk in on a Friday to have an appointment with the lack of parking that we have down there. So, no, I'm just kidding. So that was literally, we have one county employee right now, so the cost is pretty minimal. Everybody else is either grant funded or state. I have heard that some would even elect to work on their lunch to make up that hour if that was we're all salary employees, so.
Right, you're all exempt employees. You have a certain amount of work you have to do.
Yeah, so typically everybody works more than that, you know, I mean, they're all. So it was just something that I thought of. I mean, you can definitely tell when it gets busy downtown, how it's hard for us to park. And like I said, I can't imagine any moms just walking it. Like, they're not gonna be able to park very close either. And then they're gonna have to like carry a baby and walk in with multiple kids, so,
So you would inform
yes.
clients that Friday afternoon.
Yes.
is no longer
Mhm. Unless it was by appointment, like if they couldn't do anything, we would certainly stay if they had no other day that they could get there and try to see if we could figure out how to get them in with all of this stuff going on. I just, every year prior to this, it's been busy for just a regular downtown clinic or downtown market, farmer's market. So the 100 vendors, I feel like it's gonna be pretty, pretty hard to get in and out of there. But I could be wrong.
Does being closed for appointments offer you any sort of, sometimes when you're in business, a reprieve of customers gives you actual blocks of time to do the
Yeah.
work that uninterrupted.
Yeah,
It's really hard to set something down and pick it back up.
absolutely. Yeah.
Do you need that time for any reason?
I
for
mean, I
administrative
would
things?
certainly let them stay. It's just mostly so the public, I think it's gonna be hard for, I lost my purple paper. That's just, I mean, it's literally up to you guys, just a thought, because it's been difficult in the past. So, I mean, we could certainly take turns staying there. I was just,
So I have another question.
yeah, sure.
Why ask us?
Because it's a lot easier to ask you guys than to go through the state. So if you guys agree, then we just notify the state and they'll take care of their state
I
employees.
understand. So the
Yeah.
challenge is you have
Mhm.
state employees, and if we're going to modify the hours of
Correct.
health, because to me, if you work when there's work, because you're salary exempt employees, then to me, it would be up to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to speak for the other two commissioners, but to
Right.
me, it would be up to you to figure out how to do your job, manage your
Yes.
employees, what hours you need to be open,
Right.
and to take care of your clients.
Mhm.
right?
Exactly.
So then the question is, if there's no state rule about it, that says you have to be, like the courthouse, our offices, the elected officials' offices have to be open to do certain work,
Mhm.
certain hours,
Yeah.
right? So you understand what I'm
I
saying?
do, absolutely. And like I said, it's not like we're not gonna take anybody. If they said, hey, I can only make it on 3:30 on Friday, we'll be there, we would stay. But it's just mostly for getting the word out that like, okay, downtown farmers market's gonna be happening. It might be a little bit tricky to get parking down here. So,
And so I keep just trying to understand with
Yeah.
the state, if we were to say yes to this, would the state say with their employees, yeah, you guys take off too? Is that how that would work?
mhm. Yeah. If we get permission through the county, yeah. I think the county supersedes, that might be the wrong word I'm using. But I was informed that if we got permission from the county, the state follows.
So the point is, we set the time that county public health is going to be open and the state employees
Mhm.
report.
Yeah.
So the state can't say, you guys don't have to report to county public health because we feel like you don't. As the state, you need your
Yeah.
employees to show up regardless of who funds them.
And I honestly don't even know if it would be through September, because you figure kids are coming back into school, we might have to be there and just deal with what we have. But certainly in the summertime, people are not really getting their immunizations right now. Like they're out having fun and,
So you need the option
yeah,
to be open
yeah.
when there's work.
Yes. And that's pretty much, we are independent. Like I don't certainly sit over somebody and said, do you have your charting done in your 72 hours? Like that's on them, but if they need to stay, I think that's great that they could stay on Friday. I'm just saying, like, for having that little ability to, if we're going to lunch, when we come back, we're trying to get parking and we don't typically park in front of our building because we save that for clients. So we would try to park on the side streets, which get very busy. And we, you know, not having a parking lot is just difficult. But I mean, it's just something I'm throwing out there for you guys to think about.
Kim, would you be amenable to closing at 1 and working through the lunch hour? Because
Yeah.
that would be an opportunity for people to
Yeah,
hit you with a
Absolutely.
open time.
yeah.
Commissioners, thoughts?
It's a good idea.
Yeah. Any
mean, to push-
historical background on this? Has this been done before? Yeah.
No, not that I'm aware of. But we also haven't had a fully staffed office, and we haven't had that many, but I don't think that they've ever had 100 vendors at downtown farmers market. So, I mean,
I don't think
that's
they have.
that's a huge increase for them for that area, which is great for our community because everybody loves the farmers
It
market.
is, but everybody knows come 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, it's going to start pouring.
Yeah. Right, right. Well, we can put in a stipulation if it's raining, we stay.
Basically, you're asking for the ability to be able to call it
Yes,
if you need to, and for the state to follow, and the only way you get that direction is from this board.
but I get it. Oh, and there's no problem if everybody stayed, because then we could stay through that 12 o'clock hour and then we don't have to worry about parking when we can certainly leave at 1 when they all start coming. And then, like I said, some people even said that they would volunteer to stay their lunch hour through the rest of the week in order so that work can be done and technically it's a wash on those 4 hours. I mean, they're really good
I don't think
employees.
it's a-
I don't think that they're really gonna take advantage of this. It's just a matter of, hassling for a parking spot, or you just stay in that spot when you get there at 7:45 in the morning and then you're not leaving till 5, and that makes everybody a little itchy.
How many hours a week do you think your 40-hour salary exempt employees actually work?
Well, I mean, I think they do the 40. Like I said, I don't
Well, I
really,
mean, sometimes you have to
the
do 50.
county is on a spreadsheet that they enter in, so there's no way of tracking that. The state employees do have to clock in, and we have to clock in and out for lunch as well. So that I can track and see. County, I just, we're on the faith system that you're doing your work and it's getting done, and that's about all I know. I mean, so I think it's pretty close to the 40, but again, some people stay over lunch, some people stay late one night because a mom can't do a home visit till 6:30 on a Tuesday night. So then they have like a couple of extra hours that they can leave early some other time before the end of the month. So
I don't think
It's-
Heber's concerned with so much that they're meeting the 40 hours. Like, are they actually doing more than 40 hours?
probably because they are salary, and if you don't flex that time by the end of the month, you lose it as well. We have a policy where, if you work more one week and then it's coming to the last week and you're like, oh boy, I have, the last week of the month and you have 10 extra hours, through COVID, some nurses gave hundreds of hours to the state and just worked for free. So I think it all balances out in the end. And I mean, it's a minimal 4 hours, 3 hours till 1 to 5, just so people can get out of that traffic zone.
Yeah, so from my perspective, I don't mind. I'm fine with it. I mean, if that's what you need to be able to run your operation, I just wouldn't want client services to suffer, but
Yeah,
I
I
can't
don't
manage
think-
that.
yeah. I think that's the top priority. And like I said, if they want, again, I just can't imagine that people would want to, I guess too, we should see how it is the first couple of weeks with that many people. Maybe none of them are all coming on the same week and maybe it's not that bad, but I just, in our past experiences, it's been pretty hard to park and deal with it. And we are slow on Fridays with downtown clinic being closed and WIC. Like I said, normally people are ready for their weekend, and the actual amount of people coming in on a Friday is very little. I mean, we can't do certain blood draws or start a TB test, so there's very little that we can do anyway. Summertime on a Friday afternoon, not many people are rushing to get that kids vaccine, but
Unfortunately.
I know, right?
So, I don't know what your thoughts are. I didn't take a motion for
I don't have an issue with it.
item 14.
I move that we approve item 14 as presented, or actually change it to 1 PM.
Perfect.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yeah, and to be clear, that doesn't require you to, just gives you the ability to manage your employees. And
Correct.
The state employees who work for you. Rather than-
Do you guys want to revisit this topic in
We
end
could
of
even,
August or
yeah.
July or,
we could do mid-July. Want to do that?
or you guys
Just
just
to
fine?
see.
Well, I think that once you have the
Yeah, the
freedom
flexibility
to
is all
do
what
that.
we're
Yeah.
giving.
I mean, at some point.
And I think
it would
it's
be
the
fun
big
to-
thing for the clients. I mean, as employees, if we're staying till 1, some might just not go to lunch and stay till 4 and then leave at 4. But it gives that a flexibility where we can at least let people know that we're gonna close at 1 unless scheduled an appointment due to high numbers of parking. Because I know
I personally
Napa's
don't
not.
think we need to revisit it.
Okay.
It's just-
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it might be kind of fun at some point just to hear
How it's going.
if it worked or if it-
Yeah,
you know, if there were any unintended consequences or better
Yeah,
than intended.
I will definitely keep track.
consequences. But I don't necessarily think that, you know, that could be done in an email to the
Yeah.
commissioners.
sure.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
I,
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thanks, Kim, and you're up next. Present for approval the hiring of part-time county public health nurse.
So this was putting the cart before the horse. I had thought that this was approved for hiring a county part-time nurse, but it was actually only good for March 2021 through June 2021. And I do have a current applicant who would be fantastic, and we would like to get her started in August. So I did meet with Bailey and Amanda, and I do have the funding available. I just need the permission to say yes.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions? I entertain a motion for item 15.
Perfect.
go ahead,
I move that we approve item 15 as presented.
second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
My only question is why was that just a job posting window?
Well, so I
Do we know
think
why
what
there was
happened,
only-
there was some confusion. We had a state employee who was out on FMLA. So when Melanie was covering as our nurse county manager, she had gotten permission from you guys to post that in order to help that nurse with her program. And I didn't realize that it wasn't actually like
A
still a permanent,
Gotcha.
yeah. So I'm gonna try to make it permanent. Because there is one state position still left that's been posted for several months and like not one applicant. So I do know she's worked in public health before, this nurse, and I think it would be a great fit. And then she's retired, she's just looking for some part-time work and she knows all the programs, so
Oh, is this Linda?
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The state keeps paying like they're paying. There won't be anybody. I want to know, let you know, I had a conversation with the WCCA director
Yes,
about this topic, and I said, this is crazy, right?
Yes.
And so he is going to talk with the head of the public health, was going to last
Yeah.
week. And I'm sure that it was, he agreed that those salaries were way
yes.
low.
I was actually gonna I talked to Sue about it and I did write a letter. There is I guess there's like HR, public health, and then there's AI, which is like HR for all of the state. So I've sent a letter to them as well, and I was gonna talk to you guys because I really think that should be addressed at the state level, and they're trying to block what you guys have offered to do as well. So,
How interesting.
yes, they're saying that it might not be allowed, that the county does.
We've had a series of back and forth emails and I don't have a final answer on anything yet. I've just been answering questions as they've presented them. So
it's interesting because the state wants to sort of do, it's across the board. We'll call it a COLA, like some percentage.
Yeah.
But that's not doing the same thing that the county did, where we look at the positions that are
Correct.
very underfunded and try to bring them
Correct.
back to market, right?
Right.
So maybe the nurses would get a raise, but it would be some percentage, not really a correction,
Correct. Yes. And yes.
as it relates to the market
Yes.
rate, which means that they don't fix anything.
Correct. And they think that they have, but.
Is that about what you?
That's what,
Yeah.
that's what Jeremiah suggested. They have been friends, the head of the public health there, who runs that for years, and that's what he suggested that was coming their way, but he didn't think it was close to a solution.
That's what I've heard as well. I'm trying to start a
Other
revolution.
counties as well, not just Albany.
Correct.
Right.
Right. And yeah, exactly.
Well, it might be okay if they reject our supplementing of it, as long as they
They,
take the ball.
yeah.
Do something.
Right.
And that's pretty much what I had said in my letter.
Well, that's what we would hope for.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I actually think that because of this conversation, I think that, and I sort of updated you guys about, I think it's gonna go to becoming not just a specific issue in one place, but something that fits in the Commissioners Association nexus and maybe the full power of the association
Yeah.
will come to bear in the lobbying effort
And
to correct
since you
that.
represent us, I would hope that you could in
Yeah.
strong argument.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I'm more than happy to talk at anything that comes your way as well.
Jennifer, if it's helpful for us as a commission to sign off to a letter supporting things that need to be done.
Okay.
Guessing this commission sounds like in support of signing that letter.
I'm happy to work with Kim to
Yeah.
put together a letter
Yeah.
that somewhat mirrors what she's already sent and get that out for you on your next agenda.
Perfect.
All right. We have a motion on 15.
We had the motion, but we voted it.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, as opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And the final one with you tonight, Kim,
Yes.
present for approval of contract between Wyoming Department of Health, Public Health Division in Albany County for the purpose of developing public health emergency preparedness and response capability in the jurisdiction through implementation of the Center for Disease Controls and Prevention Public Health Preparedness Capabilities, the amount not to exceed $112,000 from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
So this is just the contract with the state. I think it's pretty much the exact same thing. This is for Zach's PHRC grant and making sure that we meet our deliverables each quarter and the yearly ones.
And there's a 10% match for the county.
Yes, and so a lot of that is space, his office space, and then the time that I put into his grant as well is tracked, and that is what, and as well as any nurses as our match.
I have
Any-
one comment.
Yeah.
Actually, the majority of the match is health insurance matched by the county from the health insurance system. So as long as that position keeps taking health insurance, that covers the match for the grant.
Is my match different than that match?
Your match goes towards it as well, but the biggest chunk of it is the health insurance.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you for that presentation.
I move that we approve item 16 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, as opposed, same sign, please. That motion carries. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you all for your time.
Thanks, Kim.
17, present for approval, approach license for John Leon Krennick on County Road 45, Lake County Road, located in section 27, township 15 north, range 76 west. Rob?
Evening, Commissioners. I've gone out and looked at where he wants to put his approach in and stuff, but it has good sight distances and will work well where he wants it. So,
Any questions for Rob? I entertain a motion for 17 then, please.
I move that we approve item 17 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye first.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 18, present for approval, utility license for the town of Walden Gas Utility on County Road number 310 Mason Lane. Rob, please.
This Mountain Woods approached the Walden Gas Utility asking for if they could add natural gas to their building and some of the surrounding homes. So in order to extend their gas line, they need to cross Mason Lane.
Do you know that I never knew that utility existed? I figured that it was all Black Hills Energy. It's kind of like an electric co-op.
It's kind of like carbon power versus.
Right.
When I
to
was
believe.
reading this, Rob, I was thinking, how does this even affect Albany County when I was in Walden?
Well, so when they said that the check had to come from the town of Walden. Maybe they got their own gas company.
You know, when I go out there, nearly everyone has propane, right? So I never even knew that you could buy, you know, like, I gotta believe that it's coming over the top, that it's basically in the Highway 230 easement.
It is, and actually, they just have to bring it in 60 feet to cross on through our right of way.
Right.
Otherwise, it would still stay in the highway, right of way. Why not?
Does it come closer to town or is that the last stop on that?
I'm assuming that it hasn't crossed Mason yet, so
It must be Mason and West.
right, yeah, that would be my assumption. I don't know.
And Mason is at like mile marker 14 or something. What is that?
17, I think.
17. How interesting.
Okay,
How could I be a county commissioner all these years and not know that there was natural gas out there? That's so weird.
I entertain a motion for 18, please.
I move that we approve item 18 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye first.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Appreciate it. Item 19, present for consideration, City of Laramie North Third Tower application LUCT-02-22. David, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this request is from the City of Laramie for it's for a 45-foot tower for telemetry for the water system. It's on the property, the old Wow Tech property on North Third out there. Submitted this for review to a number of different departments and agencies. There's only one real concern. It was noted by Jake Snyder, the county engineer, that the tower design packet wasn't certified by a Wyoming licensed engineer. I will note that that's been taken care of. We do have a certified engineer stamp on the packet now, on the tower design now, so we do have that. They're required to, the applicant is required to go through a number of impacts and just address them: visual impacts, environmental impacts, co-location requirements, exterior lighting, screening, buffering, general nuisances and air traffic safety, and all those things were addressed by the applicant. Basically, this request for the 45-foot tower on the site will meet all the minimum standards. All the required documentation has been provided. And the findings of fact for this project, the findings necessary for approval, including the applicant's response, staff analysis, references to this report are adopted as findings reflecting the applicant has adequately addressed the specified
impacts and the same are incorporated herein. Conclusions of law, the applicant is proceeding in accordance with and in compliance with requirements of the Albany County zoning resolution. During the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the only discussion came up was the professional engineer stamp on the tower plans, which, as I said, has been rectified and has been taken care of. Planning and Zoning recommended approval of the City of Laramie North Tower application adopting incorporated staff analysis, findings of fact, and conclusions of law, as each are stated in the staff report. Do you have any questions for me? It's a pretty straightforward application.
Commissioners, any questions?
The only question I have is that I thought that the city had annexed that. So then I figured that it would fall into some city thing. Has that not happened yet?
That has not been annexed.
I entertain a motion
Gotcha.
for 19, yes, please.
I move that we approve City of Laramie North Tower application LUCT 0222, incorporating the findings of fact and conclusions of law as outlined in the staff.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, David. 20, present for consideration 4 Mile Acre subdivision preliminary and final plat applications SD-06-22 and subdivision permit. It has David, but it looks like Joe. So.
Unless he wants to do it. All right, the applicant and owner is Axiom Development LLC, located at 20 Herrick Lane. The request is to approve preliminary and final plat and subdivision permit. Current zoning is rural residential, current use is residential, and access will be from Cannonball Lane by way of Herrick Lane and existing state highway. There were some reviews. Karen Bowman had a comment about the legal description in the application. It's been taken care of. Jake Schneider had concerns about the preliminary plat, but they were taken care of. Luke Hawkins had no concerns, recommends the whole water program. Dory Unverzat, addressing coordinator, approved the road name Cannonball Road. City of Laramie, Todd Feeser had comments regarding the planning and code. Approval of the subdivision was recommended. Full comments can be seen in the review section. Laramie Rivers Conservation District, Martin Curry noted that well water is limited in the area and soils significantly limit the selection and growth rate of trees and shrubs. And YDOT, Salem Court said any work done in the right of way will need appropriate permitting through District 1 Maintenance Office. Historic drainage corridors must be maintained. If drainage is affected in the highway right of way, a drainage study needs to demonstrate that post-development discharge rates are metered at or below pre-development rates. All lots should expect to gain access from the access easement along the northern edge, as access will not be granted directly to Highway 130. Summary of subdivision permit requirements. Water, lots will be provided domestic water for hauling water from the City of Laramie. Individual cisterns will be used for storing the drinking water supply. Sewage will be served by individual septics. Those systems will need to be applied through the county planning department. A storm drainage report was complete for this proposal and reviewed by Jake Schneider. Utilities, Rocky Mountain Power provides service. Postal service is existing in the area, and the post office will provide service to all new lots. Cannonball Road is proposed. Road maintenance, a covenant with road maintenance will need to be filed with the final plat. Financial assurance has been received. We got that yesterday. Fire protection will be provided by Albany County. Notice has been provided in accordance with the Albany County Planning and Subdivision Regulations, Chapter 4, Section 9. The summary of subdivision requirements, applicant responses, staff analysis of inclusion of required information as referenced in this report are affirmatively adopted as findings that the applicant has provided the board with adequate information that the requested and required findings, documentation, notice, and notations have been satisfied by the applicant and the same are incorporated herein. Conclusions of law, the applicant is proceeding in accordance with and is in compliance with the requirements of the Albany County Planning and Subdivision Regulations. Staff analysis, this subdivision is being proposed in an already developed area. Lots will be accessed from Cannonball Road. The addition of 2 lots in this area should not create any substantial impacts to the area. The preliminary and final plat complies with the standards of the Albany County Planning and Subdivision Regulations. Staff recommendation was to approve the 4 Mile Acre subdivision preliminary and final plat application and a subdivision permit adopting and incorporating staff analysis findings of fact and conclusions of law as each are stated in the staff report. And Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously voted to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners to approve the 4 Mile Acre subdivision preliminary and final plat application ST 0622 and a subdivision permit adopting and incorporating the staff analysis findings of fact and conclusions of law as each are stated in the staff report.
Thank you, Joe. Commissioners, any questions?
Joe, does the applicant propose the road name?
Yes, almost all the time.
Okay. Did he say anything about and expound on that name, Cannonball Lane?
Not that I remember hearing,
It's just
but
interested in,
Jory didn't have any problems.
okay.
You probably can understand it on the radio. It's like EMS.
Joe, just a question of information for myself. If somebody's gonna have to haul water, would that have to be written on the plat?
I mean,
Anytime
no
that,
domestic water supply.
yeah, anytime it's not a public water supply, the statutes require that it say there's no centralized water available. So that means it could be well, it could be hauled water out there. There's just not opportunities for well.
Right.
So that statement is on the plat.
Okay.
It
that's-
doesn't say specifically it's gonna be hauled, but it
Right.
does specifically say there's no centralized water.
Okay.
supply. So
All right, thank you for that. Any other questions, commissioners? I entertain a motion for item 20 then, please.
I move that we-
Oh, go ahead.
I move that we approve the 4 Mile Acre subdivision preliminary final plat application and a subdivision permit, adopting and incorporating the staff analysis, findings of fact and conclusions of law as stated in this staff report.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, guys, and thank you for the additions to the, and Jennifer, I think it was probably you too. The recommendations for motions, that's really helpful. Thank you. 21, present for approval, resolution 2022-011, a resolution designating funding allocations to subrecipients of the Albany County 2022-23 Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Community Partnership Initiative, TAMP CPA.
Thanks,
Civil
guys.
War. Bailey, good evening,
Good
thank
evening,
you.
Commissioners. So I'm pleased to announce we almost got full funding on this.
Yay.
We were short by just $225.20. The past few years, ever since I've been here, it's been in the 80s, so we're really excited. Because we are just $225 short, my recommendation is to just pull that out of my grant administration. If it was more than that, I'd like to take it to the nonprofits, but because of this, it's just easier, and then we can get it moving on quicker.
Commissioners, any questions? Entertain a motion for item 21, please.
I move that we approve item 21 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Bailey.
Thank you.
22, ratify application to Wyoming Department of Health Special Project Funding Application for the state opioid response community project for October 2022 through September 2024. Heather, are you with us? Good evening. There you are. The floor is yours.
Hello. I am requesting the ratification to our state opioid response grant. This grant allows us to provide additional services and support to identified opiate and stimulant, to include methamphetamine participants that are in the drug court program. And this would provide that funding for the 2 years.
The other commissioners, any questions? I'd entertain a motion for item 22. Then.
I move that we ratify item 22 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing and seeing that, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next up, we're talking Mozzies. Request, present for approval, memorandum of understanding between the city of Laramie, Wyoming and Albany County, Wyoming for mosquito control, surveillance services, and reporting activities is required under the Emergency Insect Management Program grant. Bailey, please.
This is the agreement just between us and the city. The city does do our surveillance for us that is required by the grant because we're not quite set up for that. So they take that on for us. This year it is just a little bit more than it has been in the past because the city employees did get some raises this year. So it's just to cover those costs.
Commissioners, any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion for item 23.
I move that we approve item 23 is presented.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing that all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, all those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, David. Just the reminder out there online, if you want to have a discussion when that comes up, just give us a hands up, thumbs up, or just unmute yourself. That would be great. Item 24, present for approval. Emergency Insect Management Program grant agreement from the Wyoming Department of Agriculture in the amount of $88,024.50 for the purpose of providing cooperative mosquito control programs within Albany County. Bailey, please.
This is just the official agreement with the Department of Ag to go with the mosquito funding we're getting.
Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, I think it was on this one, Bailey, let's see, under consideration, maybe it was the previous one. There was a change, a question about the date. This should include the 2022 mosquito season and not the 2021.
It was the previous one. I apologize.
All right, so I'd entertain a motion for 24 then, please.
I move that we approve item 24 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Bailey.
Thanks.
Item 25, present for approval memorandum of understanding between Volunteers of America and the Albany County Sheriff's Office for the collaboration of services and the sharing of information. Sheriff Applehans, good evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. This is just a simple MOU for information sharing between my office and Volunteers of America. Basically share the information that we have between their clients and our inmates for the services that each one of us provide.
Commissioners, any questions? I entertain a motion for 25 then.
I move that we approve item 25 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you, guys.
26, present for approval, quote from Land Intelligence for the purchase of Mitel phones in the amount not to exceed $6,682.50. Adam, good evening. Floor is yours, please.
Thank you. Just hoping to purchase another batch of phones out of the current IT budget. Just trying to wrap up the costs as possible. Mitel's a little interesting. They allow you essentially a single support partner. It's also your purchasing partner. So this is coming from our authorized purchasing partner, who is Land Intelligence. For the quote of the purchase, you really can't go outside that bubble. Try it before, you always get kicked back. So, looking to retire desk phones that, again, can't take advantage of the current infrastructure we have in place. Just continually work out and retire the old sets. This is a newer model, better performance, gigabit network card, better quality of calls, which we do a lot of.
Commissioners, any questions? I just have one question. Adam, are these web-based phones or are they still the wired plug-in phones? So web-based. Is there such a phone that connects wirelessly so you don't have to run wires through your facility?
Sure. Actually, we're licensed almost entirely. We got it free as a part of our rollover to use actually the computers themselves. It's considered a soft phone. There's not a lot of buy-in here for such a thing. Most people like a hard headset, but these are hardwired Ethernet VoIP phones.
Okay.
You can do a sidecar option, which gives you the little headset to be wireless back to that. But yes.
Okay. I entertain a motion for 26.
So you said these are VoIP phones, not?
Correct.
See, I don't even know. I don't know how our data phones work. Like, I figured we were still on old school copper pairs of wires, for the voice part anyway.
You are still on a T1 line for your primary plans for that to go to a digital SIP set within the 6 months. And that would be just your primary in and out. Everything across the organization, the infrastructure is all copper Cat6.
Gotcha.
So it is still copper, it's just more connections.
All right, did we move and second that? I don't believe so. I'd entertain a motion then.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. I move that we approve item 26 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it. Item 27, present for approval memorandum of understanding between the Board of Commissioners of Albany County, Wyoming, by and through the Albany County Prosecuting Attorney's Office in the city of Laramie, Wyoming, for victim witness services. Jennifer, please. Thank you.
Hello, you have me tonight because Fawn is presenting at city council meeting tonight for the same MOU. This is the MOU where the city pays the county for victim witness services. The prior request in prior years had been $15,000. Fawn is asking for 25 from the city for this year due to the grant cuts that she discussed with all of you when she was going through her budget. I do have one change from what's in your packet. Attachment A, the scope of services, the very first section of that, we changed the wording on it just slightly. If you'd like me to read it to you, I'm happy to. It says, as advised by the city attorney's office, prepare victim impact statements, including claim for restitution, if any, on all cases involving victims of crimes charged in city municipal court. Victim Witness Program will submit the victim impact statements and claim for restitution to the city attorney's office by the date of the bench trial, written plea deadline, or sentencing. The Victim Witness Program will not release information to anyone else other than the victim if requested.
What's the change? That's what we have.
Oh, maybe it was updated on yours.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, super.
Gotcha. So
Oh, wait,
you're,
I lied.
Okay.
Sorry. It says, this is the new one. I printed out the wrong one. Here's the trouble.
Dang, stop lying.
Sorry. So it says, prepare victim impact statements, including claim for restitution, if any, on all cases involving victims of crimes charged in city municipal court. Victim Witness Program will submit the victim impact statements and claim for restitution to the city municipal court, giving as much time for review as possible prior to the date of the bench trial, written plea deadline, or sentencing. Unless there's an unforeseen circumstance, statements will be submitted no less than 3 business days before trial or change of plea. And then the Victim Witness Program will not release information to anyone else other than the victim if requested. It just added the timing considerations in there.
Okay. Commissioners, entertain a motion.
I move that we approve item 27 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. And I do have a question. Is that language going to be troublesome to the victim witness program?
No. It is not. They worked that language out. It was a suggestion from the city attorney after Fawn had looked at it from victim witness. I submitted it to the agenda, and then the city attorney's office looked at it and made that suggested change, which Fawn didn't have any issues with at all. I just didn't get it updated in your packet.
Question I should ask earlier. And the city didn't have any issue with the, we have a statement that says priority basically with crime witness is to the county first, and then if there's any conflict of time and all of that.
Right.
And they didn't have an issue with that.
No, it's always said that. And right now, they do have a part-time person who does all of their municipal court cases.
Well, and clearly the more serious crimes
Are
get
charged in county court, either circuit.
or district. And so we're talking about misdemeanors with damage. And basically this is all about how to inform the court of the cost of the damages for restitution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
Welcome.
I entertain a motion for item
28.
28? Or do we vote on
27.
that? I'm not sure.
I mean, I think we already,
We have a motion, but no vote.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Please.
Aye.
aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 28, to present for approval, memorandum of understanding between the city of Laramie, Wyoming, the Board of Commissioners for the County of Wyoming for ambulance services from July 1st, 2020 2022 through June 30th, 2023, in the amount not to exceed $225,000. Jennifer.
So this is the first full year of the ambulance services contract that we discussed previously with the city. And it is in that discounted amount of $225,000 for the year to give the county and the city opportunity to reach out to other partners as we move forward.
Are they going to bill that as bill monthly, or how does that going to work?
Believe they intend to bill annually, just a one-time bill.
Okay.
Can I add a couple?
Yes, please, Dave.
So first of all, the state has not posted their funding in regards to the EMS, the money they designated for EMS. That's why it's on tonight. The other thing is we still have not received a bill from the city for the previous one that was approved. So we're waiting for that bill before we submit payment.
I will reach out to Dan Johnson and see if we can get that bill.
Probably want to get it paid this fiscal year.
I will
Call him.
Well, it's coming out of ARPA funding, so in my books, it doesn't matter.
I will get a hold of him
Probably
tonight.
has to go ARPA, them, and us.
Yeah. I'll get a hold of him.
Yeah, as
so.
far as the grant goes, you can pay it next fiscal year. It really doesn't matter. As far as contract or everything goes, that's up to you guys. So just let me know.
Thank you.
Pay our bills.
Yeah. I would
Right.
recommend
It's hard
probably
if
this
we-
fiscal year.
If we don't have an invoice, I'll see what I can do about that. I'll reach out to Dan.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Maybe it's just free.
They changed their mind.
All right.
Let's finish.
I entertain a motion for item 28, please.
I move that we approve item 28 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Can I ask one more question? This next agreement, that's to be paid out of ARPA as well, is that correct?
225.
Yeah, it was not in your budget? Is that-
Yes, it
Yeah.
has been, it is budgeted
It is
in the
budgeted?
county budget.
Okay,
Unless you want to pay for it out of ARPA, then we can amend the budgets at the public hearing. It's totally up to the Board of County Commissioners.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure if it is budget, we have to with that. If it's not, you're welcome to with it with ARPA or amend like Jackie said.
Yeah.
I just don't want to get.
Yeah, but this won't be a chance.
Right, ARPA will go away. And so when ARPA goes away, we'll have to figure out how to keep it in the budget. If we want to do ARPA, if we want to keep it in the budget, then we'll just do it that way.
I would like to use ARPA because I think this is what it's for.
Does this fit?
Yeah, I mean, we're paying the first one out of ARPA, so that was the reason for my question. So we certainly can, there's money in there right now. Like I've said before, we're kind of waiting on the decision of that building to then really move forward and spend out the rest of those dollars because that'll be a really big purchase, so we just want to make sure there's enough there to do it if you guys want to. But as far as I can remember at this point, there's plenty of funding to do this next year. Like I said, I'm still hoping that the state will finally release their rules for their funding, but I haven't seen anything in regards to any other ARPA funding. I hear a rumor that they're starting to, but I haven't seen any yet, so.
Yeah. Okay. What's your pleasure? Do you want to keep it where it is in the budget, or it sounds like Commissioner Richardson might get out of ARPA?
Let's take advantage of ARPA.
So we'll have to do something on the 28th.
Which is fine. And Mr. Chairman, what I'll do is I'll leave the placeholder in intergovernmental for future consideration so that you know that it's there.
Okay.
With a line item,
Mhm.
so we don't forget.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Super. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd entertain a motion.
I think I gave a motion.
Yeah, we voted on it.
You haven't voted, but could you state that it is to be paid out of ARPA funds, please?
Yeah, I will amend my motion to approve item 28 as presented, and the funds will come out of ARPA.
Second agrees.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Period. Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Bailey, for that catch, and thank you, Jackie, for that solution. Item 29, present for approval memorandum of understanding between the Volunteers of America Northern Rockies and the Board of Commissioners of the County of Albany, Wyoming, by and through the Albany County the prosecuting attorney's office regarding community collaboration and care coordination. Jennifer.
This is similar to what Sheriff's Office entered into with VOA. We have one change to make in section 5B. We need to change it to the second judicial district, Albany County, and I have it reprinted here for Jackie. But other than that, it's just for the collaboration and sharing of information from our office to VOA.
Commissioners, any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion for 29. Please.
I move that we approve item 29 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item 30, ratify the Albany County Community Mental Health Board bylaws that were adopted by the board on March 21st, 2022. It looks like Jennifer.
Yes, so these, Kurt asked me to present them. They are the work of the board to update their bylaws. They've included, I believe, a representative from city council. And the board went all through them with all of their community inputs and got them updated to where they believe they need to be, or where the board is at this point and moving forward.
Commissioners, any questions? Hey, no drama like bylaw drama. So I entertain a motion for number 30.
I move that we ratify the Albany County Community Mental Health bylaws that were adopted on March 1st, 2022.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing
I just hope that they, bylaws basically state purpose, structure, process. And if they were able to get through that, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Means that they're all rowing in the same direction, and that's good.
entertain a motion for 30 or? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and it's item 31 is make appointments to the Albany County Public Library Trustees Board. Do you guys want to do it one at a time? You want to do both together? Well, let's make one at a time in that way. I entertain any motion for appointments to the library, the Albany County Public Library Trustees Board, 2 positions ending April 2025.
Mr. Chair, I move that we appoint Farron Babbitt. I don't think her work is done on that board. She's been a good board member and she served as our chair for the last year. And she seems very knowledgeable, having both positions, experience of both positions. So I move to appoint her.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. I'd entertain another motion for an appointment to the Albany County Public Library Board.
I move that we appoint Dave Hardesty to the Albany County Public Library Board.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, all opposed, same sign. That motion carries. I'd just like the record to reflect that those are unbelievably all 3 qualified candidates. Thank Ms. Gura for his work with the Friends of the Library and also his application.
I think he'll continue.
I hope so.
Welcome.
Super.
Yeah, it's a sort of a luxury to have more applicants than positions and have good applicants. So
Yeah.
There's some disappointment in me, deep down when I can't put someone somewhere where I think they would be good. But there's a limited number of positions, right? So that's the way that is.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I could tell that he had the sort of the vision and knowledge. It was good.
Yeah.
And there will be more chances to.
Yeah, they all care about libraries. Who was the person that Karen was reestablishing? Who was the person left? Or
Scott.
Scott? Okay. Did he term out? Is there a term?
He did, or actually, yeah.
He's moving.
He's retired from the
Retiring
school.
from the school.
Whiting. Yeah.
Whiting.
Yeah. Okay.
He was getting close.
Yes.
Are those 3-year? They're 3 years.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And he was getting close.
Yeah. Okay. Item 32, set a special meeting for June 28th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. Commissioners. That's something we have to do, right?
That is to adopt the budget. Also, there was a request from Amy Terrell to make presentation in regards to the airport board. And there have been a couple of additional requests from other departments for to provide some requests for approval at the special meeting on the 28th. It's not a lengthy agenda, but I believe so far there are 3, if not 4 agenda items.
A couple that people have asked to put on before.
Yeah.
I am kind of jammed up that day, and I probably should have found a way to hold it. I don't know why the 28th would have been the day, but I would love it if it could be on the 29th. I just
I
don't know.
think you established this.
I think that this is part of the budget calendar
Yeah.
going way, way back.
We advertised as well.
Yeah. Okay, let's go. Well, fix my problem. but different way.
Can
I
you
will rearrange.
No, no, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm going to be zooming because I'll be in California that day too. So I'll be zooming. So we don't have to entertain a motion for this. Let's do this at.
I just didn't have the time, so it's going to be at
At
9:30.
9:30.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That'll be the last of the budget meetings, done for another year. And then 33, approved payroll vouchers for June 2022. I'd entertain a motion for that.
I move that we approve payroll and vouchers for June 2022.
Second.
Moved second, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no more business on this summer solstice evening before the Albany County Commission. I'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Bye.